Hi, I'm Kurt Hollenbeck, and I'm one of the founders of Microbiome's weight loss systems. Quick question. How many here know what the microbiome is? Okay, a few, not too many. Before I get into the meat and potatoes of this talk, let me share why anyone who is overweight should be very interested in the microbiome and why it is the first word in our company's name. The microbiome, and more specifically the gut microbiome, is the collection of bacteria living in your digestive tract. I believe this will convince you to how important this is to you and your chances of taking the weight off and keeping it off. If a genetic sequencing lab has your complete genome sequence and all your DNA, and that is all they know about you, they can predict whether you are fat or thin with about a 60% accuracy rate. However, if a microbiome lab has a profile of your microbiome and that's all they have, they can predict whether you are fat or thin with a 90% accuracy rate. If you don't have your microbiome right, you have a 10% chance of being thin. If you get your microbiome right and keep it right, you have a 90% chance of being thin. 90%. The microbiome is the key to getting your body to work for you. It affects the calories and nutrition that we extract from foods, and it affects the foods that we desire. Believe me, these little buggers know what they want to eat to survive, and they will ask you for it on their own demonic way. So what you need to ask yourself is, do you want to be in the 90% group, or are you feeling lucky and think you can land in that 10% group? By the way, if you are overweight, you've already got your answer as to whether or not you're one of the lucky ones. Microbiome Weight Loss System's mission is to get your microbiome into that 90% group. I will let you in on another little bit of information. Your microbiome affects a lot more than just your weight. But before I go down that path, let me talk a little bit about one of my competitors who is doing just fantastic work. Bet you don't hear that too often, right? It is this competitor's work that led to a lot of the knowledge we are gaining about the microbiome. That competitor is the gastric bypass surgery and the unbelievable effects it has on its patients. I'm going to talk about a fantastic 60-minute segment that aired back in 2008 titled The Bypass Effect. For the most part, they are talking to 8 gastric bypass patients and their surgeon, Dr. Neil Hutcher. Before the surgery, all 8 patients had diabetes. One lady said she was giving herself 8 to 9 insulin shots a day. I had no idea you would ever give that many shots to yourself. All 8, including our shot lady, were cured of diabetes in days. Still morbidly obese, but cured of diabetes, a supposedly incurable disease. 5 of the patients had sleep apnea, all cured. One patient, himself a doctor, said that he no longer took high blood pressure meds, cholesterol meds, and off his diabetes meds. He said he was totally off medications, and you can see a lot of heads nodding in agreement. It's just a super clip. So what's that got to do with microbiome weight loss systems? Everything. It was the research that was spawned by this procedure that was the impetus for our weight loss program. The effects were created by the shrinking of the stomach, not by the shrinking of the stomach or the weight loss. The effects happened when they were still morbidly obese, and lapric band surgery shrinks the stomach but does not produce these effects. One of the biggest effects that the gastric bypass surgery has is to completely change the composition of the microbiome. And it makes sense that the microbiome is the key to a lot of these effects because it is at the foundation of our health. It plays a huge role in how we obtain our nutrition from the foods we eat, and it is also where approximately 85% of the immune system resides. Think of all the modern health epidemics that you see out there: obesity, hypertension, diabetes, Alzheimer's, autism, autoimmune diseases. Researchers for every one of these diseases are feverishly examining the effects that the microbiome is having on them. Google autism in the microbiome, or hypertension in the microbiome, or autoimmune disease in the microbiome, and on and on. You'll be amazed at all the research being done. The effects of the microbiome are going to be as important a health discovery as antibiotics, if not more so. It has that wide a reaching effect on our health. So why don't most of you know about it? Because when you see those research papers, you will notice that most are not from pharmaceutical companies. Most are financed by the National Health Institute, your tax dollars, and wonderful foundations like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Thanks, Bill and Melissa, sincerely. These are research dollars, not marketing dollars. You aren't going to see the little purple pill every 10 minutes on your TV screen with this research. Pharmaceutical companies are doing research, but they have a very difficult task. they have to monetize it. They have to try to find a specific bacteria or hormone or enzyme that they can put into a pill or make a drug. Good luck with that. How long is that going to take? The gastric bypass doesn't target a narrow area of the microbiome. It creates a broad compositional change in the makeup of the microbiome. That we can do now, and it doesn't cost a fortune. We will train you to produce your own probiotics that are much cheaper than probiotic pills and contain many more strains of bacteria. One of the main features of a healthy microbiome is that it contains a broad spectrum of bacteria. There are some very good books out there on eating for your microbiome. Unfortunately, none seem to be written by anyone who has a clue about losing weight and keeping it off. If all it took was to have the knowledge, we would all have been thin years ago. There is a complete denial from the medical field about how difficult it is to change your eating habits. The failure rate for changing your eating habits is between 95 to 98%. There are few things more difficult than changing your eating habits. It is evident within the first few lines of weight loss books that it is written by someone who probably is not fat. I used to think it was because they needed to sell the book or program, but really, I think it's just that they don't have a clue. Here's an example from a pretty good book. I won't say the name, but I couldn't believe it was in there. They discovered that within a few days, they began to lose their cravings for sugar, bread, baked goods, and other forbidden foods. Is there anyone here who believes you will lose your cravings for your favorite foods within a few days? Really? Our program does a lot more than just change your diet, and I can tell you it took a lot more than just a few days for me. It was about 2.5 months before I could tell that it was really happening for me. To go into a grocery store and not think about getting a treat, to see a new candy or cookie or cake and not have an overwhelming desire to try it, to just naturally think about feeding my microbiome and realize that my tastes were changing. A big part of the problem is that there is no acknowledgement about what all weight loss entails. Seeing the difficulties and understanding them and planning for them is very necessary for success. It is not just a physical problem. There are huge psychological issues. I think this is the best line I ever read about weight loss. It was written by Kristen Conger in an article titled Understanding Food Cravings. If we were to compare stomach hunger and mind hunger to different types of telephones, stomach hunger would be a one-line analog phone, and mind hunger would take the form of a high-end cell phone with camera, internet, and MP3 player capabilities. Doctors who generally write these books are not equipped to handle the mental side of this issue. To be fair, the way the medical field is set up now, doctors can't afford to spend the time necessary with patients to deal with these issues. Doctors may have good information pertaining to their specific field, but they are clueless when it comes to the other areas of the problem. It would be like a football line coach writing a book on blocking, but presenting it as if great blocking was all you needed for a great football team. Yes, blocking is very important, but so is route running, tackling, play design, and so many other areas that a team needs to excel in. There are some great medications out there to help you while you are changing your microbiome. Phentermine is generally the first we utilize. Let me tell you something about phentermine. It is prescribed by over 70% of bariatric specialists. The doctors who specialize in weight loss for obese people utilize phentermine. There is a very important caveat to the medication, however. Medication is not the answer. Medication is a very useful tool to help you achieve your overall goal. We have phentermine clinics in our areas like we used to have pain pill clinics. They hand out the phentermine with very little guidance. I went to a couple, and that is one of the big reasons I started this program. My sister and I both lost over 60 pounds with phentermine. We just thought it was the greatest thing. Then your body starts to adjust to it. It is why phentermine has not been successful at long-term weight loss. As a tool to help you on the path to changing your microbiome, it is perfect. The problem for my sister and I was that though we had lost a lot of weight, we did nothing to change our microbiome. Our diets were probably a little better, but for the most part, we just ate a lot less of the crappy food. When the effects of the phentermine started to wane, we were right back to where we started. Same old cravings and eating patterns. On our program, long before the phentermine will start to wane, It generally is good for about 5 to 6 months. You will have had a dramatic effect on your microbiome. I stopped using phentermine after my 3rd month. Even after the 2nd month, I had reduced to a half dose, which is completely different than the usual path that phentermine takes. You're usually looking to up the dose because, as noted before, your body adjusts to it. We have attempted to look at every aspect of weight loss and create tools for them. While some may find this next topic touchy-feely, it is anything but. Researchers have made some wonderful insights into goal setting and goal attainment. We utilize a wonderful program called WOOP, Wish, Outcome, Obstacle, Plan. Did you know that positive thinking can actually be detrimental to achieving your goals? If you will take the time to understand how to utilize this tool properly, you will have an amazing asset with you the rest of your life. It is all about reaching your goals, not dreaming about them. We also have a daily app, specially designed to aid in handling cravings. I think we can all agree that cravings are one of the biggest pitfalls out there. Cravings and special event days, they were death to me over the years, and I don't just mean holidays and birthdays. I also mean the unexpected special event days when something really good or bad occurs. Those unplanned for events are a nightmare. They put me straight into my deserve role, as in, I deserve these donuts because that was a really bad thing that happened to me. How sabotaging my eating regimen and doing harm to myself made it better, I have no idea, but I did it my whole life. We also promote the use of intermittent fasting. Now don't panic, this is an individual choice, but we teach intermittent fasting and really believe in it for both the physical and mental benefits gained. The fact that the head honcho of the anti-aging department at the National Institute for Health is one of the biggest proponents of this eating regimen makes us feel really confident about this recommendation. There is so much more science and better science backing this eating regimen than there is for grazing. The research is definitely showing that intermittent fasting is beneficial to the microbiome. But we understand if intermittent fasting is not something you feel comfortable with. It's a big change from what we have had preached to us for the past 3 to 4 decades. We just think everyone should be exposed to the research. For too long, our eating habits have been dictated to us from some really bad science. We will show you why this bad science is a major contributor to the obesity epidemic. There is a very strong argument to be made that the obesity epidemic is just a wonderful gift to us by our government and the food industry. Think lobbying dollars. We have basically been subsidizing the sugar industry to poison us, and we continue to do so. This is the experience that you are going to get at most weight loss clinics. You're going to fill out the health history forms. They are going to weigh you and take your blood pressure. They are going to listen to your breathing and your heart with a stethoscope. Check your ankles for swelling. They're going to hand you a sheet of paper with a 1,200 calorie diet. It is going to work for you for about 5 to 6 months, and you will lose a good amount of weight. It will all start to slowly slide away from you after that. Phentermine has been around since the 50s. If it was the answer, I wouldn't be here talking to you now. At Microbiome Weight Loss Systems, phentermine is just one of the tools. And while weight loss is what you will see, getting your microbiome healthy is truly our number one objective. As discussed above, it will have unbelievable ramifications for your total health. Another wonderful aspect of our program is if you have health insurance or Medicare, more than likely you are covered for most, if not all, of this program. Most policies have to include a preventative health care benefit. You are covered up to $1,600. Our program is exactly why this benefit is included. We are all about preventing the huge costs of these chronic diseases. If you have health insurance or Medicare, you need to take advantage of this benefit. Programs like this are exactly why it is there. But once again, it only works if you utilize it. There is no greater gift that you can give your family than microbiome weight loss systems. Every person who eats a modern Western diet is vulnerable to the ravages of these modern day plagues. If you have ever watched a family member with Alzheimer's or a debilitating autoimmune disease, then you know how painful it is. Microbiome weight loss is the greatest security against this epidemic of chronic diseases that will destroy your quality of life and finances. This is what preventative health care is all about. Thank you for listening, and I hope you will join us on this important journey.